Yes, please. You don't want to exercise my time surplus. You want to whittle them away, and then you put me into deficit again. I don't like that. So let's get cracking. Today we want to knock off quite early, if you look at the program. And few announcements. It said there will be transport for people who want to step out today after we close. Maybe I'm trying to see if we can close by 4:30 thereabout. And there will be transport for people to go out if you want to step out and go and have a feel of the town. Maybe you want to even have eat outside or something. But me, that one is you see me, and then we will arrange. Yes. So that is also available for us even Saturday. Want to stop that thing so that we talk about entertainment? I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah, so Saturday evening, yes, that option is also there for people who want to go and dance out and relax and, yeah. So there's tomorrow, the AGM, as I was saying, is for the heads of delegation. Others, you can attend as an observer. But there will also be an alternative arrangement for people who want to go and see town. If you want to join that one, also it can be arranged. The Secretariat have arranged that for others who may want to go to town, drive around town and see. But for the compulsory one is for the members, the heads of delegation, you must be there. Others who are interested, you can also come and observe. But those observers who are not interested, you can have alternative arrangement of taking you through town to go and look at the beautiful city of Kigali. So yeah, that is there's also, I think we have to look at those who need another PCR test before they travel. I think we have to contact the Secretariat so that they can arrange for that. Because some people, you need to have a PCR test when you are going back to your country. Not all of us need that. So those have to be sorted out. We don't like any last minute problems. So let's note if you need that so that the Secretariat can organize it for you. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Corentin. And all the Commonwealth who invite us here. Before starting this session, permit me to make two remarks. I think I feel very comfortable, and I started with joy. Since last session, I see someone asking, gender issue was not respected. I may say today gender is respected. And at a level so that I feel a bit in minority because I have two strong ladies here. And you know, gender is a concept brought by our friend's country. And this supposes that we should put a content on it. And I was wondering myself, since I have two ladies here, if you were in the traditional society, what I'm going to carry it. But I remember that we are today talking of mondialization. It is a concept. For me, it is a market, a great market, where you come to offer and buy. You cannot only come to sell and not buy. And for this perspective of view, Africa has something to offer. And I was trying to say, if you were in a traditional society, as a man, I feel comfortable. As a Bantu man, a Zulu, and so on, I feel comfortable. Because the right of women also means the right to get married to a man. And so that a man can give the possibility to man to have, if they want, many women. Because President Paul Kagame said, when I decided to combat corruption, I do not do it to please others. I do it for my own people. If that is our own tradition of our people, let us carry that. This is my first observation. The second one is that I'm very glad because I had the opportunity to chair a session where there is the chief ombudsman of this country, a great lady, and another lady of Seychelles. And when Transparency International was exposing, I realized that the ranking they gave, while waiting for another methodology, will take into account not the perception, we agree on it, but on surveys. And the number of sources should be the same for the same people. We should take it into account. And on this point of view, I realized that Seychelles came first. And Seychelles came first and Rwanda came fifth. Both of them are Commonwealth countries. Professor Bolaji said that the wealth is not common. I would say it's a processus. And the wealth is not only material wealth, it's an intellectual wealth. And the processus is on. I will also say that I realized that both Rwanda and Seychelles are also members of Francophonie as Cameroon. That's why I'm pleased to lead this session. That said, yes, please, sir. I will not have the opportunity to talk all the time. The First Lady is Honorable Nyerere Madeleine, Chief Ombudsman of the Republic of Rwanda since November 2020. She was also the coordinator of EUMA, East Africa region. She is member of High Council of the Judiciary and member of High Council of Prosecution. She has been the chairperson of the National Commission for Human Rights of Rwanda for 8 years. She has also been the chairperson of the Network of African National Human Rights Institutions and vice chairperson of this network. Also, member of the Bureau of the Global Alliance for National Human Rights Institutions. She worked with the Parliament of Rwanda for 13 years on different senior positions, including the position of Deputy General, Secretary General of the Senate. She has been key speaker in various United Nations meetings, including United Nations high-level meeting on SDGs, annual meetings of Global Alliance of National Rights Institutions. On the perspective of her education, she is a holder of a master's degree in international criminal justice and law of human rights. She is holder of master's degree in public administration, public management from National School of the Public Administration of Quebec, Canada. She also holds a bachelor degree of law and a postgraduate diploma in legal practice. The second lady is Mrs. De Silva. She is the commissioner of the Anti-Corruption Commission of Seychelles, appointed on March 2017. She was reappointed for another 5 years term mandate in March 2022. Mrs. Da Silva has a management and leadership postgraduate from University of Ulster. She was also chairperson of the Northern Ireland Police Strategy Group. Her work has been in internal audit, fraud investigation in the public and private sectors in the United Kingdom and Seychelles. She's a member of the Seychelles National AML CFT Committee. I will now give the floor to Mrs. Chief Ombudsman of the Republic of Rwanda on her national paper. And I realize the contents has been well given the requirements by Dr. Corentin when she gave us the invitation.
Thank you so much, moderator. Honorable Chairperson of the Association of Anti-Corruption Agencies in the Commonwealth of Africa and IDO of Uganda, honorable heads of anti-corruption agencies in the Commonwealth of Africa, Dr. Corentin, or Commonwealth Secretariat, distinguished participants, good morning. I am very pleased and honored to host you, and I think you are all safe. At this juncture, I wish also to share with you some of achievements and innovations of the Office of Ombudsman of Rwanda in relation to preventing and fighting against corruption. My presentation, in terms of outline, I will talk about on the background of the office, vision, mission, and the values guiding our office. Institutional mandate, I talk about public awareness, prevention, education, declaration of assets and liabilities, some innovations, key challenges during COVID-19, and activities during COVID-19 as Plan B, and the lesson learned in the fight against corruption, then the be conclusion. In terms of background, the Office of Ombudsman is an independent public institution established by the Constitution of the Republic of Rwanda of 4th June 2023, revised in 2015. It is governed by law number 45 of 2021. We have a new law, in fact, because this law replaced the law of 2013. The office submits its report, annual activity report, and thematic report to the President of the Republic and the Parliament, both chambers. We are a hybrid institution, Ombudsman, dealing with complaints to citizens and anti-corruption agencies. While vision and mission can read there from there, just to keep time. We need corruption and our vision, corruption and injustice-free Rwanda. Our mission, we are a leading institution in the country in the fight against corruption, and our values you can see there: integrity, accountability, excellency, and professionalism. According to the law on a mission and functioning of the office, we have a mandate to prevent and fight injustice and corruption. We receive annually the declaration of assets and liability from public officials and other officials that work in the area of public assets or budget. We monitor the implementation of policies as well as strategies aimed at preventing and fighting corruption. Also, we have a role to advise the government on policies and the strategy to prevent, fight against corruption. Also, we review and decide on injustice and corruption complaints that are not resolved by relevant organs. Also, our mandate is to still in Rwandan the core value that consists in resisting, preventing, and avoiding corruption. Also, we do cooperate with regional and international institutions as the one we have, as our Association of Commonwealth Africa. In terms of public awareness, that's where we focus in instilling in Rwandan values of integrity, accountability, and transparency. We do public awareness. As you can see there, we have some tools like rw'Umuvunyi magazine is a newsletter of Ombudsman. It's a quarterly newsletter. We have some promotional materials or preventive materials, as you can see there, key holders, umbrellas, T-shirts, banners. We have also digital message you can see from the city. When we are going to the city, you can see on the screen, digital screen, you can see the message, even including this conference, but also other message on anti-corruption message. As you can see there, we also use radio. Radio, we had in 2019-2020, we had 86 broadcasts and 10 on TV. And I can say that in those public awareness, we work with other institutions. Sometimes we have TV shows with other institutions, police, National Public Prosecutor, City of Kigali. We work jointly with other institutions. From 2020-2021, we have 137 radio talk show and 12 on TV. Various TV, national and public, private TVs. And we continue with those materials, Umuvunyi magazine. Umuvunyi means ombudsman. This is a general name translating ombudsman office. Key holders. And we distribute those materials across the country. Those umbrellas, we distribute the health posts to women. There's umbrellas to women, because when we teach women, we teach the whole family. In terms of prevention and education, we conduct operational audits. We do anti-corruption week and the celebration of International Anti-Corruption Days, as well as the African Anti-Corruption Day. There are outreach programs during this week, during Anti-Corruption Week. There are outreach program, also the celebration on the International Day on 9 December. Next, you can see some pictures where there is anti-corruption campaigns. Those are citizens there sitting in the stadium in the rural area. Those are other citizens sitting next. There, myself. There's the citizen attended anti-corruption campaign. I can mention it as innovation because those anti-corruption campaign, we are with other authorities in the centralized entities, which we provide educational program, as well as we receive complaints because we are a hybrid institution. In those gatherings, we undertake education on some laws, useful laws, land laws, inheritance law, law on combating corruption, whistleblower law, and the protection of whistleblowers. And thereafter, we receive complaint. Some of complaint can be related to injustice, others to corruption. For the corruption, we have, I'll get there. As you can see there, in 2019-2020, conducted 107 educational program, while in 2020-2021, it was 39. There is a decrease of numbers because of 2019 pandemic, but as we see, we have other alternative like Plan B, or using radio and TV show. You can see also anti-corruption activities. Those are clubs. We have march in anti-corruption march. It was in 2019. Those are youth, and with some slogans combating corruption. Also, after that, they got down a stadium and to tell about the evils of corruption and measures of prevention. Also, mainly and importantly, the contribution or the engagement of the citizen in this journey. In terms of declaration of assets and liabilities, this is another tool to combat corruption, to prevent. Because when you are declaring your assets, there is a verification which is done. And when we found there is a big difference on what we earn and what we, if you are a public official, for example, you are a minister, you are an official, simple senior official, what we earn and what you have, in fact, what you have, we can see if there is illicit enrichment, which is now in one of the offense of corruption. Before it was not like that. It was a separate offense. Now, illicit enrichment, not being able to explain where you found your wealth you have, it's now an offense corruption. And when the proceeds of corruption are also taken off. You can see the data there about declaration. There are some more people, you can find, for example, 2019, 2020, there are 11 people that not declared. 2021, 2021 to 37. For those who are not declaring the assets, there is a law on declaration of assets. There is a standalone law on asset declaration. There is a punishment provided for in that law, including suspension of 3 months, including also forced declaration, and also investigation on why we do not declare your assets. Some innovation. I'm trying to be quick. We have, as some of you presented, on anti-corruption committees. We do have anti-corruption committees in the public and the private institutions. It's a must that a private institution and a public one and civil society and international organization working in Rwanda must have this anti-corruption committee. Also, in terms of innovation, we organize a competition of journalists on corruption. We assess investigative stories on anti-corruption, and we provide awards. Is it just to engage with journalists, with media, to come in this battle of against corruption? Also, we organize competition of artists in producing anti-corruption songs. Those songs are used in our mobilization campaign. And also, there is a message which is provided for in those songs, and most of them are youth. This is very helpful because they are, during COVID time, we used famous artists, and they to produce the song and also to pass the message. We also have anti-corruption in the community mobilization through drama performance. We go the field visit. We go with a van with the artist and with drama, and then we take the opportunity to educate people, to do our public awareness. For the, maybe come back. For the anti-corruption committees, they conduct anti-corruption risk assessment. Also, there are internal mechanism to the institution, which is they are composed of senior officials in the institution. And after 6 months, each institution has to report to the office of the Ombudsman. We see what they have done and the loopholes. Also, we used to train them, anti-corruption committees, and to assess what whether they are supporting the institutions. Today we have over 237 anti-corruption committees in the public office and the private sector. We have also online innovations. On what we are using online systems. You can see there, ODAS, it's an asset declaration system used by the Office of Ombudsman. From the beginning, we used the booklet, and you have to fill in the booklet. Now we are using the system, and also we are integrating, it is still in the process, this online system with other systems. For example, on system related to land, one working on salaries, to be sure that the declared assets is the one we have, and we have it legally. We have also good service delivery system. This is for complaint system, whereby citizen can lodge their complaint. It can provide, this system provide report. You can upload a complaint. Next, can see the progress of the complaint. You see. Also, we have there's some. Okay, now that we have key issues during COVID, which are almost the same as you mentioned that you faced, all of us. Due to COVID pandemic, it was not possible to conduct the field visit, for example, to conduct public awareness, to see the population, because we conduct our public awareness from the grassroots level. But also the citizen could not physically reach out the office of the Ombudsman. While we encourage citizens to lodge their complaint online, we still have people coming with the papers. At that time, when it was not possible to have those people, but we have alternative. We have the alternative toll-free. We have also, next. Those are some activities conducted during COVID-19. We use toll-free 199 and the SMS 199 to you can mail the office of the Ombudsman. These numbers, you can also send a message regarding whistleblowers can send a message also. When we receive the message, it's like an open openness to do more research or investigate cases, to find more information on the case. Also, we use online platform to receive complaints, as I mentioned. Also, we use WebEx platform and the Zoom to use the online meeting. We had many meetings during COVID-19 because we have these tools. We are lucky because we have many tools here. Many services are digitalized. And during COVID, if each staff have online internet at home, we provide internet, and one can sit at home and follow the meeting from her home or his home. We also sit during a period through radio and TV program, as I mentioned. There is a lesson learned in the fight against corruption. It is paramount of importance to focus on prevention, education, collaboration, as well as monitoring and evaluation while preventing and fighting against corruption. We found that we have to instill values in our population. It's not only in Rwanda, it is Africa. As we mentioned from yesterday and the first day, we have to conduct preventive measures to be able to have this culture of avoiding corruption. Also, we have to, engagement of citizens is substantial in this anti-corruption journey. We can't succeed without engaging with the population. You can't succeed without engaging citizens, because there are people, corruption is given by the population. We receive, the one who receive corruption, money from corruption, receive from citizens. If they are sensitized, if they are mobilized, if they are educated, this can help in prevention. Also, why it is not mentioned there, but I need to say this. Also, whistleblowing. Whistleblowing is very key. If you don't have information on corruption, it's become a problem. We have to know what happened, what is going on. Also, we have to focus on service delivery. If we don't provide what the population needs on time, it's free. It is free. You have to pay. You have to pay the money which is required, not over or less. That's also very important in the journey of combating corruption. To conclude, I can say that no country is immune from corruption. A government need to work together with partners from business, civil society, to tackle corruption successfully. Also, I'm come back for the leadership. Leadership, as discussed yesterday, it is not there is a top leader, but even our institution, we have to walk the talk. What we are talking here, we have to serve as an example. If we are corrupting ourselves, it's become a problem. We have to serve as an example in our institutions. If we are monitoring an institution or someone, we have to assess ourselves. How are we? How would we behave? If we are corrupt ourselves, how can't you hold accountable others? We have to be accountable ourselves from top to down level. That's things that can work. Otherwise, we're still talking for years. But we can see in our institutions, how are we accountable for? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Chief Ombudsman of Rwanda. We now give the floor to Mrs. De Silva for her country paper of session.
That's the President of Seychelles in an interview after we had arrested a kleptocrat. Sorry? Madam Chief Ombudsman, Dr. Roger, distinguished brothers and sisters, good afternoon. The Anti-Corruption Commission Seychelles was established under the Seychelles Anti-Corruption Act 2016 and amended in 2019, 2020, and 2021. The Anti-Corruption Commission is a self-governing, neutral, and independent institution which was merged with the Public Officers Ethics Commission in April 2021. So our mandate, like with a lot of our institutions here, is to investigate offences relating to corruption, as well as money laundering, and we detect corrupt practices. We also do prevention work. And now that we have the Ethics Commission within our remit, we also have started the declaration of assets by public officers. And in August 2019, the institution was granted prosecutorial powers. So it's interesting that when you look at the Corruption Perception Index, and yes, I agree that with regards to the way the assessments carried out, we question that. But you can see from the graphs that was shown by our colleague before that from 2016, the Seychelles moved up the rankings, and that's from the enactment of the Anti-Corruption Act and the establishment of the institution in 2016 and new powers for the Anti-Corruption Commission. So we were asked to give a presentation on innovative working. And we've all come up with innovative ways of investigating, of doing prevention work, and various projects. So our innovative work in Seychelles is unique to us, but might not be innovative in another country. So what do you do when you have only a team of 12 investigators and you need to catch the biggest kleptocrat in the country, whose worth is now over $1 billion? So next slide. So while the IT is sorting us out, the problem. The problem is we're a 4-year-old institution at the time. So as a new institution, expectations were quite high. We had limited resources, and limited meaning a new institution and with a capped ceiling of funding. And in a small country with a population of 100,000, everybody knows everybody. So finding a legal team and lawyers to prosecute under a new act, that was a huge challenge. And we had an impatient public. Expectations are high when you have politicians in election time using corruption as the as part of their political football. And I'd like to say that I was appointed under the previous administration and then reappointed under the new administration. So you have an impatient public, and you've got a work to do, and you need to focus on that. And for the Anti-Corruption Commission, we had an untouchable kleptocrat, richer than the government itself. So, just wanted to go next slide. There you go. Okay. So, Mukesh Vallabhji was a former economic advisor to the former President Albert René. And he's amassed quite a lot of money as an economic advisor who had a salary of $19,000 a year back in 1994. Next. And former President Albert René's wife was part of this kleptocracy. She didn't take a salary as a former First Lady. In 1985, she was a returning student from the UK and applied for a government housing loan. And today she is worth $48 million. Next slide. Now, when I say we have a problem, we also have a problem with the media. You know yourselves, sometimes we peak and then we go in troughs, it goes up and down. So you're the darling of the community and of the country, and then they wait to hit you. So when this happened, everybody was really happy with ACCS, that a new institution, finally, we managed to get hold of the kleptocrat. But then the headlines started to change. And one of them was "No please yet, ACCS and the state still dawdling with documents." So, what was our solution? We had collated sufficient evidence from 2002, when the theft of the 50 million happened. But by the time we arrested the individual, we had more information that we could have ever anticipated, because our untouchable kleptocrat was also a hoarder. He kept everything from 2002 to 2021. So park this for a minute. Now, the banks didn't have any information because, like we know, banks tell you after 7 years they destroy the documents. They don't. Okay? That's not true. Send them an order and you will see what happens. Threaten them with litigation and see what will happen. They don't like being taken to court, banks, especially if the money was stolen in the UK. So, there was small ACCS, a new institution, limited resources. Do we go for what is called litigation funding? I attended my first Commonwealth conference for heads in Africa, in Malawi, in May 2017. There I met a group of professionals from Security Africa, and I explained the dilemma, the number of cases that were coming into this institution with very limited resources. And they put to us to go for litigation funding. So we explored this process, and I can tell you, as sovereign states, maybe it's not a very good idea, because if you go for litigation funding, they will want up to 30% of what you recover in assets. So that's probably not something you can sell to the public. So we put together a budget, presented it to the Ministry of Finance, and said, okay, this is our evidence. This is what the kleptocrat is worth. Please give us 7 times more than what our budget is. He was about to fall off his chair. I held him and put his jaws back up, and he agreed when we talked about potential more schools, more healthcare, and more money for our infrastructure, and agreed to take on this project with ACCS, to fund the project with ACCS. And we didn't have enough manpower. We didn't have people with the expertise. So the government agreed that we outsource the work to law enforcement and legal professionals. So we're retired UK professionals with more than 35 years experience in investigating financial crime and economic crime. So we get to the point now that we have, remember when I said we had so much information that our own little office exhibit room wasn't even big enough to take in that amount of information that we had secured. And we had seized 507 devices, electronic devices. Our police could only do 1 device a week. So that's the capacity we were talking about. We had court deadlines to meet. You see, when the prosecution code was set up, the prosecutor at the time, who is currently the Chief Justice, he was the Attorney General, had set up this prosecution code of practice, and maybe never thought that he needed to include documents that need sifting in financial and economic crime, because we had no corruption cases prior to 2017. So when he set up this code in 2018, he had no inkling that this was going to happen, and this is what we needed to prepare ourselves for. So here we were working to tight court deadlines to disclose information, and we needed to sift over 100,000 documentation. So what did we do? Innovation, very simple idea. And I know my colleague from South Africa talked about bringing in a multi-agency team during the pandemic to be able to work together with those agencies. So we had signed MOUs with some of our partner agencies. And we decided that's what we were going to do. So, next slide, please. The next step was to request from all our partner agencies, from one of their professionals in their financial and fraud investigations unit, to come and join us 4 days a week and assist us with the evidential sifting. Obviously, a process was set up to do that. And so we managed to get workers from Central Bank of Seychelles, the Financial Services Authority, FIU, Financial Crime Investigation Unit from the police, the Internal Audit Department from Ministry of Finance, and the Seychelles Revenue Commission. Because we know if we are looking at old information, there might be evidential information that, because the threshold for crimes, it's beyond reasonable doubt. So we are very aware that we might have to go down the Al Capone route. If we don't get him for corruption, we'll get him for tax evasion. So the Revenue Commission, they're part of the evidential team. So this evidential team is led by a World Bank resident advisor. And Christine, you talked about yesterday countries approaching the World Bank for technical aid. And the Seychelles had, prior to this case, in fact, requested a resident advisor to assist us with the AML CFT assessment, the FATF, ISAMLAG for some of us in East Africa, to assist us with our ratings. And then this team is led and also assisted by an FIU secondee, in addition to somebody in the evidential team. So we have another senior officer who is able to access information in real time on site. Keep me right with the time. So they are assisted by 3 of our ACCS investigators. So out of our 12, we've got 9 sitting there now, and the other cases have slowed down a bit. And we also have set up a digital forensics lab as a partner of IACCC, an associate member of the IACCC. Some of you might know what IACCC is. It's the International Anti-Corruption Coordination Center, which sits within the National Crimes Agency UK. So Seychelles is an associate member, and we were able to secure a whole digital forensics lab. So now we can actually download and download those devices, 5 devices a day. And again, Christine was talking about algorithms. So the information is fed through this super duper system, and keywords are fed in, and then they work out and analyze and track certain documents for you. So this is now actually speeding up the process, and it's a resource that we will be able to share with our other partners who are on board in the evidential team if they've got so much information, if they've got that much information to go through. So the one thing that we all have to deal with in our institution is dealing with unknowns. And COVID-related staff sickness had caused quite a bit of delay for us. The court is not interested in that, by the way. Equipment failure is also an issue. So, with new technology, sometimes, when your staff is on the job training, you have to wait for the experts to come back in and sort out the equipment failure. But now we've set up a system that remotely our UK digital experts can remotely fix our system. And through this case, we've actually discovered quite a lot more money had been stolen. In fact, another $350 million. So that's a side case that's in the pipeline to be investigated. Same kleptocrat. And I talked about the media, and we need to always be careful that we always ensure that we manage this very well. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. That you can have, here was we had the biggest story in Seychelles, not just the story, biggest case in the Seychelles. Small institution like ours managing to bring this. Now, what we had done is we had issued restriction notices on those businesses. And as a result, there were delays with the banks because we needed to manage the money that was leaving the local banks. So one bank just couldn't manage this. And then there were delays just over Christmas to pay the staff. Somebody picked up this story. There we go. I was then the baddie just before Christmas, stopping people getting their salaries. So those are things you have to manage, the bad press. So even though it was a good story, ending the year with a very good story, those little things can affect the credibility of an organization if it's not managed. So finally, concluding points, just wanted to share with you. So as a leader, we have the power and responsibility to create a culture of anti-corruption. We be innovative and lead by example. Be a person of integrity, responsible, transparent, and accountable. We all talk about this, and it starts from us. Madam Ombudsman said this, so it starts from us. We're under the spotlight all the time. And then having the good tools to enable you and the others to reduce corruption. And you create, and one of the key things with regards to when your cases get to court, it's your procedure. When your people are guilty, and a lot of us know this, because they are guilty, defense will come back and attack your procedure. So
should be at the end of the session. The floor is to one who would like to speak. Thank you. Name and the country. A comment, a question. I would prefer a question.
Thank you. My name is Hermenegildo Dimana from Mozambique. I have to say again, do not focus on my English, just be busy to get the message that I'm delivering. Yes, I have a comment on the online asset declarations that we bring here from the lady from Rwanda. And I think that we are managing to do the same, to move to the online declaration, because that business of received a lot of papers every year is so hard. And I think that we should do it even just to make the process more easy. Even without COVID, we must do it. It would be a good way of working. My first question is on the anti-corruption commission in public and private institutions. It's a question of law, and if it is a question of law, how do you manage to obligate the private sector to have anti-corruption commissions? Third, I will request to hear a little bit more about the good services system, how it works. And finally, it's about this business of awards. It's also a comment. We also managing to do this business of awards, but we are hesitating because of motivation. We are concerned on motivation. How do you? We saw that Zambia also share this kind of work to deal with corruption involving another stakeholders, and how do you work in motivation to maintain the stakeholders cooperating in these processes? Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe another question, please. There have been two presentations. Please clarify to whom you put your question to facilitate understanding.
Thank you. My question goes to Rwanda. I'm more interested with the anti-corruption committees. As you have rightly indicated that there is a decree that these are to be established in both public and private bodies, including the international organizations. My area of interest mostly is establishing is one thing. How do you ensure that really they are undertaking their mandate? Also, how do you coordinate issues to do with reporting of the interventions that these particular committees are doing in the various bodies where they are operating? Lastly, it's in terms of mostly the international organizations. How was this received? Didn't it appear that maybe you are intruding maybe in their space? And how was this handled? Thank you.
Okay, I give the floor to Honorable Betty.
Thank you very much. I want to thank both presenters for your very inspiring presentations, and also to congratulate your countries for the movement from not so good to on the almost irreversible path to really good. Congratulations. I have two questions for each one. The first question is to Rwanda. Rwanda said you have a hybrid agency covering ombudsman functions and anti-corruption, and I would like to know where asset recovery, the function of asset recovery, is housed, and also the legislation about assets recovery, and if possible, any examples on asset recovery. My next question is Seychelles, a very interesting innovation indeed. And corruption is corruption. Whoever is corrupt should be dealt with summarily. My question though is, how do you differentiate that fine line between crackdown on opposition or witch hunting of former opposition stalwarts and fighting corruption? Because the examples you've given us, and they're very impressive examples, there's a first lady who was arrested, then there is the I think chief advisor to the former president. They had amassed huge amounts of money, and it was right to crack them down. I'm wondering whether people are not seeing a fine line between political witch hunt and crackdown. And can you give us any real-life examples of people in government currently, they could have served in the previous government, but who are in the current government, who are also under equal scrutiny? Thank you.
Hey, thank you. We will present have the opportunity to the presenter rapporteur to ask a few questions put to them.
Thank you so much for your question, the comment. There's a question from Mozambique on online asset declaration, on anti-corruption committees, and on motivation of stakeholders to join us in the battle of corruption. As regards online declaration, as mentioned in my presentation, starting 2004, we received, we had a booklet. It was on paper. Thereafter, we put in place this online system whereby we provide links to the public officials that are required to declare their assets and liabilities. Also, we, in the beginning, it was just few people to declare, only senior officials. But thereafter, we found that there are officials that work in, with the budget, the one in charge of land registration, work permit, construction permit, urban construction, the one in charge of a master plan. Those are other people that must declare their assets and the liability. Now we have over 14,000 officials to declare, with among them, starting from the top leadership, His Excellency the President, ministers, members of parliament, and those junior staff in charge of working in the sector of budgetary accountants, the one in charge of public tenders. Those are people that are required to declare the assets. And online declaration, it's just a system. You have to use it. And first of all, it's better that we have a standalone law on asset declaration to mention who declare assets, what to declare. We usually locally, and the assets which are localized in other countries, movable, immovable assets, also liabilities. And we're working with several institutions to, as I mentioned in my presentation, we're now integrating other systems, land system, revenue system for taxation, companies, Rwanda Development Board, so we can have a clear indication where the wealth of people are. Also, to be able to see whether there is they get this wealth in a transparent manner. Also, we this system also it is now it is common. It is I can say that people are aware of that. Even the public, they are aware that we are declaring our assets and they can provide information. When after declaration, we go and verify the assets, the assets, and to compare what they declared in the last 2 years or last year and what they gained, and where we can see the variation of what they can last 2 years and what they gain. And when there is a problem or a distortion between the wealth they gained previously comparatively to what they earn, it's become a problem. And need to know how we motivate stakeholders to join us in this battle. In fact, we have what we call National Advisory Committee on Fighting Corruption, which includes there is Office of Ombudsman, Rwanda National Police, there are many institutions, the Judiciary, the Rwanda Procurement Authority, the Office of the Auditor General, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Local Government. Those are institutions which composing National Advisory Committee. The same committee is from top to bottom, to the centralized entities. We have at sector level, district level, and those committees, we meet quarterly, on a quarterly basis, and there is a department in my institution which is in charge of that, and an officer in charge of following up those reports. The report, to analyze them and see where there is issues. In terms of other stakeholders, mentioning the whistleblowers, for example, usually we have a law protecting whistleblowers, also some gratification, but we focus on the instilling in the people values that to report on corruption, to report on a case of injustice also, because we found that when there is injustice, there is a corruption, and also to focus on resolving complaint of the population, because when there is a complaint is not resolved, or it's very late, it become a big problem. The law on whistleblowers come as a protection, and when there is this law provides for that the whistleblower is protected. There's no retaliation. It can be dismissed from his job or her job because of the information provided. Also, there is a criminal. There's a penalty, 3 years of imprisonment for the one that undermine the person who give the information. When there is a case maybe of retaliation, we have a institution that police Rwanda Investigation Bureau to sue the person that undermine the person that give information. As regards the anti-corruption committee, how we deal with the private sector, from the beginning there is laws on corruption on combating corruption of 2018 that provide that there be strategies to combat corruption. Those committees are among those strategies. Also, the Office of the Ombudsman as the leading institution in this journey, anti-corruption journey, the one that coordinates all activities regarding the corruption, anti-corruption. We wrote a letter to private institution, public institution, with a deadline, and also a follow-up of our request. I can say that we have over 200 institutions that complied with our request. And what we did from the beginning is to train the committee. There is a committee set up and various institutions, but to train them on their role, on their mandate. Also, we are now, because we have that department in charge of following up how the committee are working. We receive the report and analyze them, and from the report we trained the committee. There are many institutions, banks that request the office to train them, and for the international organization, you can understand that from the beginning there is a resistance, but we pass through Minafet to address those letters to these institutions. But it's a must, it's a law. They have to comply. And we have to, because in those institutions, they are tenders which are given. There are projects which are supported by those institutions. They have to be accountable for. As we are moving, no one is immune to corruption. And we have to be aware that all institutions, private, public, international ones, comply with standards of combating corruption. In terms of, Honorable Betty, IGG, Uganda.
Opposition and fight against corruption.
Yes, fight, assets recovery. regarding the assets recovery, in fact, our new law of 2021, usually we had, before 2018, we had the national prosecutors and the Department of the Investigation. But now they're still there. But we changed the way we worked before. Because to avoid the duplication, we have a Rwanda Investigation Bureau. That is a new institution. It was not like that before. Before it was a department. Now we have Rwanda Investigation Bureau. We have National Public Prosecution Authority. We have other institutions. We have Financial Intelligence Center. Those are new institutions that work closely with the Office of Ombudsman. We have our staff. We have a department in charge in the Ministry of Justice in charge only of asset recovery. That's what we have in the Office of the Ombudsman. For example, when we found there is illicit enrichment through the declaration, through the verification we have, we work with this department. See, there is a case there. We have to investigate. And also we conduct preliminary investigation because from those declared assets, we can have information. We can have information and we give it to Rwanda Investigation Bureau for further evidence gathering. And also they submit to the prosecutor, prosecution where there is a case. That's how we work. But we are informed every time on what the assets recovered.
Mrs. Chair.
Thank you.
I think that's all. I give the chance to Mrs. Maida Silva to make a point about some questions.
Betty, it's a very important point because the organization is non-political. And like I said, I was appointed under the previous government. The question is interesting because we have arrested some politicians from the previous ruling party, which was a ruling party in power for 43 years. So who would have been the people to practice corruption and were able to embezzle public funds? But the complainant in this case was the former president, who lost the last election, but from that ruling party. President Faure was the complainant of the 50 million embezzlement. Other cases, we've got a CEO of a small business finance agency, where there's been unaccounted monies of 85 million rupees over a period of time. So the case is currently in court. We've got two serving former public servants. One is in prison, and that's for extortion from a former minister. And then another public servant who was trying to sell work permits. So there are a variety of cases, but this, obviously the 50 million case was a huge case for this institution to take. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will apologize for the delay I have for this session, but you know my task was not very easy because I had two great women. And I could not cut it. And you know, in our tradition, if it happens that they say, Anuka, go and lay down, I just lay down. Because in our tradition, when a woman say to a man, lay down, you just respect it because you cannot know what is going to happen. Thank you.
Before the time that I've been taking, we still enjoyed it. So let's give them a clap, a round clap. Prof, I'm sure your class will be very interesting. Yeah, thank you. Well, the gains in time have been exhausted, so now I have a deficit of time. So we're supposed to have another 2 presentations before lunch. We do some calculation. So I think what we do is that it's almost at 1. We'll go for our lunch. When we come, then we will have the presentation for Kenya and Lesotho. And then we have the topic on blockchain. And then we will have Malawi and Nigeria, EFCC, and then we close. So that is the, going forward, that's what we have to do. It's about 5 or 6 minutes to 1. So I think we will break for lunch because we can't do 5 minutes before lunch. So let's go for lunch and come 5 minutes before 2. So we're going for 12:55 to 1:55. And we come back. So lunch break. Thank you very much. Thank you. They come and go. Then one nice car, with a driver in the front, and then the big man at the back being driven. Tinted glass. When they got to the checkpoint, of course, the constable police officer stopped them. And then he started asking, where are you going, and all that. But eventually he said, oh, you have to give me something small he said something small for the small boys. So the guy driving the car told this constable, stop this nonsense, because big man is at the back. When he heard that, he said, oh, big man, you see, we small boys, look at how we are standing in the sun. And you are in your nice, comfortable car. So give me something to go and buy cold water to cool off. Then the guy said, stop this nonsense. Apparently, the guy at the back was the overall police chief of the country. But he was in Mufti. And the guy driving was the police officer whose colleague is the one collecting the bribe. So he was trying to tell him that our boss is at the back. So stop this nonsense. But the more he pushed this guy, the more this guy would demand. So the boss at the back of the car, tinted glass, of course, he knows how the bribe is given. You know how they give the bribe? You take your driver's license, you put the money inside, and then you give the driver's license and the money to the police officer. Immediately you take the license, you pocket the money, then you look at your driver's license and give it back to you. So that's what the police officer, the police chief, overall police chief of the country did. He lowered the tinted glass slightly. He pushed his, the police chief badge, which is a booklet, with the insignia at one side and his name on the other side. And he put the money inside and gave it to this constable. So the constable collected the thing. The first thing is that you take the money and put it in your pocket. Then before you start examining what document you are holding. So he has pocketed the money. Then he's looking at this document. Then he was confused. It's the police chief. Then he looked at the car, it's tinted, so he can't see what is. The more he held that booklet, the hotter it becomes. So he couldn't know whether he should throw it away or whether he should do what, but he was shaking. At that point, the police chief lowered all the back window so that he can see him face to face. So as soon as he saw him, that this is the police chief, and I've collected bribe from him red-handed, what could you do? He said, I sack myself, sir. So immediately he dismissed himself because you know the crime. So he sacked himself immediately over there, and he saluted his boss. And the boss said, he told his driver, let's leave this stupid boy around. Go, let's leave him there. So he took his badge and they left. I'm sure that police officer, that constable will never sleep, whether he has been accepted to be, the sack has been accepted or not. He was left to his fate. So if you are collecting bribe, you should know who you are collecting bribe for. Sometimes you are not careful, you collect from your own boss. And the consequences will be you're going to dismiss yourself in front of your boss. Is the class full? Are we ready for the next presentation? Well, now I think the room is quite full, so we can go ahead. Before I sack myself. So I'm going to call upon so we have Kenya and Lesotho. Then we have Ghana, Yoko as the chair. So, chair, please step forward. And Kenya and Lesotho come up stage. And then we have the business for the day. Chair, each of them have 20 minutes. You have to be strict on time. And then we have 10 minutes question and answers.
Thank you very much, Roger. My name is Mame Yatiwa Adodamkwa. I'm a commissioner of police and executive director for Economic and Organized Crime Office. Because I'm still a police officer, I have been very, very, very unhappy the way Roger has been talking and bashing the police service. But bashing us reminds me of a story that happened between Nigeria, Rwanda, and Ghanaian pastors who attended conference for pastors. Then during the break time, like we had a coffee break, they decided to discuss what they've been doing with their collection, their offertories. So the Rwanda pastor said, what I do most of the time is that I draw a line, then I throw all the collection up. What will fall at the right-hand side is for God. At the left-hand side is for me. Then they said, really? Then Ghana pastor came and said, me, what I do is I draw a small circle. Then I throw all the money up. What will fall within the circle is for God. What will fall outside the circle is for me. Then came the Nigerian pastor. He said, me, what I do is throw everything up. What God can catch is for him. Thank you very much. I hope. So, Dr. Cranton, please permit me to use 2 minutes out of the 20 minutes for a brief remark. This is the second time that I'm coming to Rwanda. My first time was in 2019 when we attended Interpol conference for African countries. And at that conference, every country was given a vehicle driven by a police officer and a police escort. Typical of us Ghanaians, after the end of the conference and we're going to the airport back home, we decided to show appreciation by giving a gift to our escort and then the driver. And they politely declined. They said, we did our job and thank you is enough for us. And that was one of the embarrassing moments for me. I thought because the money was given in the presence of the other colleague, that was why they declined. So I had another opportunity when I decided to use the washroom and I was escorted by the police officer. We had to use the elevator. So with me and him alone in the elevator, I checked, there was no CCTV. So I tried again to give the money to him and he declined. Whatever that Rwanda has done to instill that kind of discipline in their police service, continue to do it. And it has been with me, and I've used that to teach our police officers. Thank you very much, Rwanda, and thank you for being a good host. So I'm privileged to be moderating 2 countries, one from the east and one from the south, and I'm from the west. The first presenter is a lawyer by profession and currently the Director General of the Directorate on Corruption and Economic Offenses. He's formerly a rapporteur to the African Union Advisory Board on Corruption. He has been a commercial crime prosecutor for over 15 years and has specialty leading investigations and prosecution of high-profile cases. And I'm talking about Advocate Sefako Sima. The second presenter, so Advocate Sefako is from Lesotho. The second presenter is the Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC. He holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science and Sociology and Master in Armed Conflict and Peace Studies from the University of Nairobi. He holds a Diploma in Combat Intelligence, Diploma in Private Investigations, and he's a Certified Security Management Professional. He has over 38 years of experience in public service, of which 15 years he served in the Kenya Defense Forces as an infantry officer and in the field of military intelligence. For 7 years, he was at the National Intelligence Services as the head of intelligence and analysis and senior instructor at the National Intelligence Academy. For 4 years, he was at the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission as a principal officer, where he played a key role in creating the intelligence department. 9 years as the head of security and integrity at the Kenyan Electricity Generating Company. On the 11th of January 2019, he was appointed as the Secretary or Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, after a successful and rigorous interview by Public Service Commission and also vetting by Parliament. In January 2022, he was appointed as a member of the Executive Committee for the International Association of Anti-Corruption Authorities. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Major Retired Swarili Mbaraka and Advocate Sefako Sima from Lesotho and Kenya. Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. All protocol observed. Roger, I'm going to help you keep your promise that today you will retire early. I'm going to help you that. So much has been said, ladies and gentlemen, about the challenges that we face as anti-corruption agencies. I'm going to be specific on matters that have been challenging in the past years. As you would know, for the past 2 years, the world was at standstill in the sense that there was no movement. There was this economic recession due to the COVID-19. But corruption, as we know, has been ongoing. As an anti-corruption agency, what have we been doing to recover, as we are recovering now, from the corruption or the effects of the COVID-19? Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, next one. In so doing, I will quickly give you an overview of the innovations on trying to combat corruption in an attempt to enhance good governance and sustainable development as the theme of this conference. In doing so, then I will talk to the following issues. I'll speak to you about the legal framework of the Anti-Corruption Agency, the constitutional reforms that we are engaging, establishment of the Asset Recovery Unit, the Interagency Cooperation, the International Cooperation, the Whistleblower Policy, and the Asset Declaration regime. All these things in the beginning, and as a result of what we identified as the challenges that we had in the past 2 years, what one may wish to call the innovations of saying, how do we enhance good governance in our system? As you know, much corruption happens in the public sector, the procurement, etc. Can we go to the next slide, please? The legal framework. The DCO, as it is normally called, was established under a legislation and Act of Parliament in 1999. As time went by, in 2006, we amended it to enhance or widen the scope of application and the powers of the directorate. At the time, the institution was a department under the Ministry of Justice. So at the time, you would understand that we were members of the strictly public servants. It was until 2012 when we were given some autonomy, operational autonomy, but still under the civil service. That autonomy meant autonomy as it is, we were now would operate on our own without any authority that we would seek from the Minister of Justice. Can you go to the next slide? Then things went by, and having identified also that, like I said, that the corruption seems not to be confined only in the civil service, and that realization that the Anti-Corruption Agency is not the only one that is mandated to fight corruption. In actual fact, anti-corruption agencies are the coordinators of the fight against corruption, not necessarily the fighting corruption themselves. The business of fighting corruption, you will agree with me that it's the government's business, in the sense that it is the government mandate to ensure that corruption is effectively fought by establishing institutions like the anti-corruption agencies and then making them as effective as possible. Then, as we went by, realizing that we may have strong legislations that govern us, but at the end, there are stakeholders like the Ministry of Finance, Justice, and others who engage into business. We then realized that we must ensure that even the legislations that govern those institutions, we need to make sure that they are strong, displaying the issue of transparency and accountability. Then we in 2018, we ensured that we propose amendments to the public procurement regulations, in the sense that we wanted to assure good governance and transparency and accountability in them. Then there was a Public Finance and Management Act that was enacted, an Accountability Act that was enacted. All these legislations that I'm talking about, they were aimed at achieving what today we are discussing as the theme of this conference, combating corruption for good governance and sustainable development. In doing so, I must mention and emphasize that you are not only saying, look, we have an independent anti-corruption commission, and having an independent anti-corruption commission, then we are good, we are satisfied. We need to go further to empower the laws that govern other institutions, so that to make our work easier in the public sector or the private sector, things way. Because corruption often occurs during trade, you know. You must control that trading when we do our business from time to time. Can you go to the next slide? In the past 2 years, what has transpired, what you introspected also, is that the country is currently undergoing, in the past 2 years, what we call constitutional reforms. One of the reforms that are being made in our country are these institutions. Currently, because the reforms haven't been completed. Currently, what is obtaining in institutions like the Auditor General, the Directorate, the Anti-Corruption Agency, the Auditor General, the Accountant General, they are all appointed by the King, by the President, by the Prime Minister. They are appointed by the Prime Minister without any processes, meaning they are turned automatically, as you may understand, political appointees. They are statutory positions. What we want to do now, we are proposing to do in Parliament during the constitutional reforms, is to include these institutions into the Constitution in an attempt to ensure their effectiveness, to address the following. The tenure of office should be specified. The security of tenure of that person. The security of tenure simply means, in this context, the issue of removal must be defined. The appointment itself, we are proposing that the appointment should be made by Parliament under the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, and the recommendation with processes, of course, that are through competition. Though also in the Constitution we want to make provision for the funding of the institutions. We were reading a proposal, I think it was in Hong Kong, where they had said it would be an ideal institution, an anti-corruption agency, overall budget, annual budget, should be 0.5% of the annual recurrent budget. We have proposed that to our Parliament. We see this as an opportunity, these reforms, and if ever they were to accept that, we see this as an opportunity for our country and the institution to be effective, in the sense that their independent financial independence is assured. Is assured that, in the sense that you don't have to go and ask for some money from some politician who is the power, who is the Minister of Finance, to say we want this much. It is defined in the legislation, and if that, well, I will discuss that with some of you in the comments, whether that is ideal, whether that is a proposal that we are making. And also the issue of the reporting lines. We are saying the Director General should report directly to Parliament, though there are some debates around those issues. But with that, we believe that we'll have an effective institution. Also, to enhance effectiveness, we have established the Asset Forfeiture Unit. And the legislation is there. The Asset Forfeiture Unit, what mainly they do, so much has been said about the Asset Forfeiture Unit. It has been always been under our mandate. Now we have a separate institution called the Asset Forfeiture Unit, which does its job. And one of the key elements there is that they are practicing a civil-based forfeiture, which is non-conviction based. We also have interagency cooperation, wherein we form alliances with other agencies like the police, the tax authorities, the FIU. We even have memorandum of understandings with them, and the CSOs. The issue of the CSOs was discussed earlier in the conference here about their role in the fight against corruption. I need not reiterate them. So those are the things that we have been in the past 2 years been trying to do in an attempt to enhance our effectiveness. One of the things that we are doing is drafting the whistleblower policy. The previous speaker here, I think it was Rwanda, she talked a lot about the whistleblower policy. I need not also go into details about it. And another thing is the asset declaration regime. The asset declaration regime is one of the tools that we use in the fight against corruption. It's one of the effective ones because we have meshed it with the lifestyle audits that we do in the event that, nowadays you find bribes being paid in cash. You can't even trace them. But it's only when you audit that person's lifestyle that you may find some red flags, and then you have to deal with it. And when coupled with asset declaration, the lifestyle audit, and then you are able to ask that person to justify the assets that they own. I think, having said this far, I wish to stop here in the interest of time, and thank you very much.
The Chief Ombudsman for Rwanda, the heads of anti-corruption bodies, Dr. Karateng, distinguished participants, facilitators, I take this afternoon as a good opportunity, although with a lot of cautious. I know lunchtime presentation can turn to be very boring, especially after taking too much starch. But before I start my presentation, I want to do something different. I would like to introduce the Kenyan team. We are 4 of us here, being led by our chairman, the Archbishop retired Eliud Wabukala. We have CPA Catherine Ngari. She's a senior investigator and deputy head of regional office in Kenya. And we have Mr. Stephen Karuga. He's an advocate of the High Court and my PA. As a military man, I really wanted to be safe, so I made sure that my PA is a lawyer, because I am the only one in Kenya who is commanding about 100 lawyers, and I'm not a lawyer. The DPP is a lawyer, the Chief Justice is a lawyer, I'm a military man, I didn't do law, so I got scared. I made sure that my PA is a lawyer, because I was told there are 3 people you must be very careful with: a lawyer, a doctor, and a policeman. When you're in trouble health-wise, the lawyer, you need him. I mean, the doctor, you need him. When you've gone the wrong way, the policeman can make your life very difficult. And the only person who can save you is a lawyer. So today's presentation, we took something a little bit different. Our title is the use of the media in the fight against corruption. Somebody from South Africa presented here. You can move the next slide. And we talked about the issue of COVID scandal. Even in Kenya, we had COVID scandal, where people inflated the cost. But you'll be asked, is there anything wrong legally, or this is just something morally wrong? My work is to make money. I bought this thing at $1, I sold it at $100. What was the problem? So you can see morally, some things you find it's wrong, but when it comes to legal issues, you do the investigation, the lawyers will tell you there's no offense here. So we'll take you through on how you can use the media to avert some losses, big losses. We always wait until a crime has been committed. A tender has been awarded, and then you realize this tender, people minted millions. But you saw red flags that there was something cooking in a government agency which was not proper. At that stage, legally you cannot arrest those people. So far they have not committed an offense. Unlike terrorism, if you are caught with the paraphernalia of explosive, you can be taken to court and jailed. But when there is a big scheme of how to steal from government, it is not done like the way a policeman takes 50 shilling, the traffic policeman takes 50 shilling in the Inspector General's ID and then he collapses. This one, you find that you know there's a plan to steal. But when you take them to court or you open an investigation, you'll go nowhere. This is where you can use the media. Partnering with the media in a very positive way, have a brainstorming session with them, and you can see you'll be able to avert quite a number of cases. So if you look at the EACC, let's go to the next slide. Our mandate is, we are established under Article 79 of the Constitution. It's something very interesting. Chapter 15 of the Constitution of Kenya has what we call constitutional commissions. But the politicians, in their own wisdom, they refuse to have EACC enacted in the Constitution. Because when it is in the Constitution, to change it, you need a referendum. But when you put it under this article, they may decide to disband it and form it under another name. So, although we operate just like any other constitution, and then our mandate is law enforcement, prevention, public awareness, and promotion of good ethics. Then we have also, we do the issue of, we have regional offices. We have at the headquarters, the main headquarters, and the main directorates. And then we have 11 regional offices that operate with also service centers, which are known in Kiswahili Huduma centers. We all have our rep in those stations. So if you look at the next slide, if you look at the strategic focus of the commission, we get so many cases, and our mandate says any reported cases of corruption must be investigated. So you have, let's say for the Nigerians, you have somebody complaining that a chief demanded for $10. And then you have to send 2 investigators 100 kilometers away to go and investigate. We don't have that money. So what did we do? We decided to say, let us focus on high impact cases because it will give good results. And the criteria is based on the personality involved. We are talking of the value involved and the public interest. And the main aim is to cause maximum deterrence. Then we are looking at the asset tracing and recovery, which it targets mainly the possession of unexplained wealth, corruptly acquired assets, and out of that, this one normally is done through civil recovery, and we allow an ADR, that is alternative dispute resolution. If you agree that all what you have is illegal, you enter into a consent and you surrender everything. And then we have the prevention, which is more of system review and promotional of personal integrity. And then the last one is partnership, which includes meetings such as this one, where we enlist and maintain strategic linkage in the fight against corruption. Also learning new ideas. So if you look at the partnership with the media, we are talking of instances where EACC has partnered with media sector to advance anti-corruption organization. And this one comes under what you call gains under disruption. You disrupt. One of the biggest disruptions that we made was a prison scandal worth $38 million that was on the offing. Unfortunately, I don't have anybody who is ex-military, where a rifle sling, which cost about $1, was quoted at $120. And everything had been organized, they had done everything, And we did it through more of a media that they went as if they're the ones who unearthed, and then we came later. So it prevented a lot, because once people have taken this money, and even if you go to court, we know, yesterday somebody said that a corruption case takes 10 years. And I told you there's a case in Kenya. When it started, I was a bachelor. And I got married, and now I have a grandkid. That case is still on. All the witnesses and all those guys who are testifying, all of them are dead. It's only one guy, I think, who is still alive. And now he's a born-again Christian. He walks with almost 3 Bibles, a Swahili Bible, an English Bible, and a vernacular Bible. So everybody just look at him and say, no, where do we start and where do we end? It's chaotic. So disruption helps, and the best people who can do the disruption is the media. We are talking of roughly $330 million in different scandals that were disrupted in partnership between the media and the ESCC. And they say those thieves who come to your house to steal a TV, even a 5-year-old kid, if it is going to the kid is going to the toilet and he just put on the light, the thief takes off. They are not aggressive. So these major scandals, when they see the media, they just go underground, and you are able to avert such an issue. So on law enforcement, you share timely briefs with the media on all high-profile investigations. Because I don't know with you, but in Kenya, sometimes these people who are in a very high-profile investigation, we know silently they oil the media, those cases not to be given any coverage in the newspaper or TV or even the other means of communication. So we brief them and give them everything. Let's say if tomorrow we know very well there's a ruling, we take a risk. We're not sure whether the ruling the judgment will be in favor of us, but the lawyers will say this is most likely to come out in our favor. So we brief the media that we are having a big case that the judgment is coming out tomorrow. So when it comes in favor of ESCC, it becomes a very big case that has got a very big impact to the citizens, because it passes a message that something is going on. Then we look at the issue of asset recovery. When we do an asset recovery or we file a civil suit of a very prominent personality on unexplained wealth, we make sure that we prepare a complete brief for the media. So by the time immediately we have filed, there's no confidentiality. It is something that is in the open, it is in court. So second day, these people come up and say, this governor has been asked to explain his source of income. He is worthy maybe $4 million worth. And before he became a governor, he was, I'm not saying lecturers are thieves, he was a lecturer at the university, or he was a headmaster. Professor, I'm not targeting you. So it gives an impact. And we are told from the feedback on the ground that after having such high profile sort of highlights by the media, the accountability in the county government is quite bearable now compared to before. Before it was open, rampant theft. Now they are behaving like a cat. They cheat but hiding somewhere. They don't do it openly. So there is an improvement in governance. This is as a result of highlighting these major cases in partnership with the media. We let the media communicate with us directly without any sort of bureaucracy. A young journalist can call me and say, CEO, I am writing an article on this and that and that. I wanted to know the following. I'll just tell him, look, talk to my PA, this is his number. I call my PA, this is the journalist who is going to ask you on this and that and that. Put a good short brief for him. And it works. Because journalists, they have two, it's a double-edged sword for journalism. They can make you go up, or they can bring you down like a busted balloon, if they want. depending how you relate with them. Then we are talking of publicity and the anti-corruption agenda. You are talking of targeted publicity, media discourse on temporary vacation of public office by leaders. Let's say we have written a letter to say we are suspending a certain key official in the government as a result of ABCD. The letter is not classified, so we share it with the media. And the second day they will say, it becomes big news. EACC suspend so-and-so over investigation. And if he's a permanent secretary, what does it imply to the other permanent secretaries? It creates fear. We have a Swahili saying which says, when you see the next guy to you is being shaved, start wetting your head because you'll be the next. So when they see that, it brings some sort of deterrence and it creates fear, but you achieve that through publicity and liaison with the media. Then we are talking of the other one, that is the issue of how do you engage this media? You know, most of us, we fear the media because you don't know what they're going to write. You can tell them this is yellow, tomorrow they write, say, no, he said this is blue. I was once asked in a media conference, how many county governments are under investigation by the EACC? I said 4. The next day they put headlines, 4 governors to be arrested. Then I called them and said, I didn't tell you this. You know, we are in business. We have to put a very good headline to attract buyers. So those are some of the things that media can do to you, but you have to have what you call targeted capacity for building media practitioners. Try to show them what you do. Tell them what is happening. Tell them what are the shortcomings. And they'll be able to support you. Timely sharing of relevant information. If you want your information to go to the print media, don't give the information which is hot cake at 5 p.m. They'll tell you the editorial team, they sit at 3. So make sure that that information by 12 midday is passed to the media. If not, pass it to the second day for media attention. If it is for TV coverage, you don't go and give the media a very good issue to be covered when the 2 main presidential contestants in Kenya that day, they are naming their running mates. You think they will be given coverage? Even if you're going to be given coverage, nobody will bother. Because everybody wants to know who is going to be the running mate of the 2 main presidential candidates. So you have to weigh most of these things. Or you want to give very good information, and that is the day in Kenya, the Minister for Education, he is announcing officially the results of secondary school education. Is the parent, which parent would be interested to know about corruption or about his son or his nephew, what he has managed to get, maybe an A or a B? So these are some of the things that you have to balance with the media people. You have also to know on how to act and work out on the feedback of the report that you have given. And then you do periodic consultative forums with the media. Like in Kenya, we have what you call the Media Guild. You organize breakfast with them. Give them a leeway sometimes for them to hit at you. Of course, you'll get some of those journalists who are radical. Don't push them aside. Embrace them. Put a smile to them. They can tell you you're not doing anything. What are you doing about the traffic police? I say, we know the traffic police is corrupt, but you are the ones who are giving them money. You are the ones who make a U-turn where it's not allowed, and when you are caught, you flash a $10 note to them. So who is the cause? You engage them in a sort of interactive approach, and they'll be able to be very, very useful to the commission. And the issue of how to manage fake news. Fake news is, I don't know about other countries, but in Kenya it's very common. You find a very hot circular, and then it's written there, signed by Twalibu Mbarak. Then it is passed to you, and automatically I know I'm not the one who signed. So you know it's fake. Your communication team and the main media group, immediately you send a feedback that this is fake. Otherwise, if you leave it for another 20 minutes, half an hour, it will be all over. And the issue of misinformation. some of the corrupt people control the media. And they will try to do some sort of disinformation. They will say EACC has got this issue, that issue. They can even try to scandalize the top management and say this is the problem and you should be able to react. But if you react with a lot of hot temper and whatever, it won't assist at all. Then there is the issue of the glorification of the corrupt. It's very common in Kenya. Right now, those people who are contesting to become governors, the people who are being said that they'll be running mates for the deputy president, when you see some newspapers, you can just tell this one is, this paper has been compromised. Because that particular individual, you know very well, there are 3-4 big scandals that he was involved. Maybe when he was the head of state corporation, somewhere there. But the media will never mention anything about issues to deal with that person on corruption. And you will know very well that that media house has been infiltrated. We have 47 federal government, what we call them counties in Kenya. There was a time from nowhere, one major newspaper in the country was not giving any coverage about corruption cases and the governors, how they were involved. Then we learned silently that they had a very big, what we call a breakfast forum with the governors, and silently they were told, please slow down on our issues because you're too much embarrassing us daily, and we'll do something. And from that time, that paper became a little bit friendly, but I think they realized, and now they're back covering most of those issues. So we are talking of the infiltration of the corrupt elements in the media sector, misreporting, bloggers, people who are in the social media, Twitters, all this. They post a lot of misleading information deliberately. You have to know how to manage. And it's not fighting or shouting at the media. It's talking to them. Tell them, look, here you are being misled. This is what happened. Then the glorification of the corrupt, I've talked. And the other one, we have to know that for you to be engaged with the media, it is extremely expensive. And at the end of the day, always, you find that the corrupt ones are able to network, get some sort of coverage. We have no time to go and say we are going to put advert in the newspaper. This is misleading, because an advert in the newspaper is, even one-page advert in the newspaper in Kenya is very, very expensive. And with that money, you can do many other things. So that is how we look at the media as far as EACC is concerned. And we found that it would be useful to do such a presentation, because let us not just look at the media for glorification or negative side. You can have very sober media people who can really assist indirectly in the fight against corruption. We had cases of, we recovered a lot of land. We had what we call an agricultural research institute next to a big city in Nairobi, and 1,800 acres worth about $50 million was grabbed by powerful people. So we used the media, and from there we instituted civil suit, and those people who were given that land accepted an ADR because of one thing. The media had highlighted that matter all over, and it was becoming very, very embarrassing. I don't know even whether those people used to go to church after that coverage, because it was all over. So they walked in slowly with their lawyers, and they say, we are willing to surrender all this land as long as whatever we paid as land rates and other miscellaneous payments, we get back our money, which was little amount. So we managed to get this piece of land, and you cannot imagine, this land is meant for the research of potato farming in the country. And it attracts people from East and Central Africa for that kind of research. So let us use the media. Let us look at the media as a partner. Of course, we must be cautious. Sometimes they can do misreporting. But I am from the Kenyan coast, and we have a plant called the coconut tree. Coconut tree is the most beneficial tree in the coast and is the most destructive tree in the coast. because there's what you call the palm wine. It really the local brew really destroy the people there. But from a coconut tree, you can get coconut oil, you can get coconut milk for cooking, you can get coconut leaves for thatching, what we call in Kiswahili makuti. So media is just like a coconut tree. They can destroy you, and you can also benefit a lot from the media. So let us look at them on the side of the benefits, and this puts the end of this presentation. I hope it will be beneficial to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I could see Dr. Cranton giving me his eyes, but the point is, between the two of them, I was given 40 minutes. So while Lesotho left 9 minutes, I decided to add 3 minutes to Kenya. So at the end of the day, I still managed the 40 minutes without going overboard. Let's give them a hand again. Thank you very much. We now understand how we can use the media, and we should always remember that media is like coconuts. You can use them, and they can also use you. Now the floor is open for questions, contributions, intervention, clarification. Any hand up? Okay, so I can see a hand up. Yes, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for the brilliant presentations. I will go to Kenya on the use of the media. Most media houses are in business, and there is a saying that the business of business is business, not ethics and integrity. And here you manage to have them to take your stories without paying them anything, because as you said, the media is very expensive. How did you manage to capture them? Because most, like in Malawi, we have a spate of court injunctions. Somebody can actually knows these issues in court, can go to court and then say, no one else, no media house should actually report on my matter until it is finished, the process is finished in court. Does that ever appear in your environment, and how do you handle such issues? Thank you.
Okay. Can we have 2 more before? Yes, madam. You have the floor. Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Queen from Zambia. My question goes to Kenya, and I'd like to find out about how you deal with suspects who, if they're presented, for example, with a call out to go and appear for investigations or for interview at a commission or an investigative authority, they flash that to the media. They call out, they'll flash it out, and sometimes they themselves call the media and tell them what is happening at each step of the investigation. We have suffered a lot of that in our country, and it has become very difficult even to keep our investigations secret, because we have these suspects who want to use the media for gaining sympathy. How best do you do it? Do you have anything in the legal framework that stops them from going to the media to do that, or anything that can be of help? Thank you.
Yes. Can we take one more? Yeah.
Thank you for your good presentation. I'm Assistant Commissioner of Police to Sam Zezayo. I have one question for Kenya. But before that, I want to thank Madam Chair for the positive feedback on our Rwanda National Police. Really, we do appreciate for your positive feedback. And as you are still serving police officer, I think you need a good practice from here. We have a new good practice. Currently, we are installing road cameras on the roads to reduce interaction between the police officers and the drivers, because this is the one area where we are criticized, where we have police officers criticized for corruption. And it's believed that we're still at the early stage, but it's believed that once we will complete this exercise, it will reduce the corruption. You know that according to the reports from Transparency Rwanda, Rwanda is among institutions, Rwanda National Police is among institutions accused to be corrupt, especially the traffic police. And with this practice, I think once you come back in 2 or 3 years, you have a good report on this, on the impact of cameras. So the question for Kenya is that I see you have maintained the military spirit, and you are advancing this struggle really with confidence and strength from the previous background. I'm not sure if you keep a same spirit in your staff. Some may withdraw, some may wish to take cover in the struggle. Okay, then my question would be to know the strategies you have to keep your people so as strong as you are. Thank you.
Thank you. So we ask our presenters to respond, all 3 to Kenya.
Thank you
and
very
then we'll
much.
Take another round.
I think you've been very unfair to me. You've thrown all the questions to me, but I'll go stage by stage. You see, the first question about the media coverage. The way I saw, the way I analyzed your question is that you have to pay journalists to give your coverage. No way. Give them good stories, and during Christmas holiday or Easter holiday, they'll call you, sir, I don't have anything to write. Do you have anything that I can put in the newspaper? That is how, if you give them good stories with facts and in-depth analysis, and you even tell them, but this portion when you write, don't say you've been told by EACC. Say according to insiders in the commission. Don't say according to EACC. Just say according to insiders in the commission. So when you come to me legally, I say, I don't know. And then this guy will say, you know, I'm a journalist, I have to maintain confidentiality. I cannot tell you my source. So there is a way. When we have a very strong corporate communication department, and most of these things, to avoid court and being sued, before we do any big article, we bring lawyers to analyze if there are any sort of legal gaps that can be exploited. But then, these guys are not stupid. Eh? They know that EACC is a lion. They don't want to open more wounds with EACC because they know they are dirty. So they will go underground many times. And then suspects, the question from Zambia, suspects bring in the media. We love it. We have a very strong intelligence unit. And when the suspect brings the media, we also call the media. Come at the men get there, we are interviewing this governor. She has brought, or he has brought media people. We also want you to come in. So they come and we also treat. We have so-and-so in our headquarters. He is cooperating with the commission on issues to deal with so-and-so, so-and-so. Finished, it's done. So you must be smart. In anti-corruption, you don't work hard. If you work hard, you'll fail. You have to work smartly. And you make sure that the enemy side, you don't catch him with his pants down. You catch him without pants. By the time he wants to go and get the pant, it's too late. You know, when you catch him with his pants down, he'll pull it up. So make sure that you catch him without pants. So that is how we operate. I hope the two of you, before I go to my colleague, you know, police and the army, we are colleagues. Are we okay with these questions, or you want to ask anything more on this? Now, on the issue of, first of all, Dr. Koraten, there's something I want to say about the police. If you're a policeman, don't feel guilty that the police is rated as the most corrupt organization in many African countries. And don't feel ashamed. It is because it is the most interactive public institution with the public. So you will never come out of that list. You will never. Not because you are bad people. The problem with the corruption in the police is two-faced. It is the public and the rogue police. It's like you have a dog that you always keep giving it meat, and then one day you tell it there's no meat. So you are so used to bribe the traffic policemen until now they are used. They go through your vehicle. There was a time I was stopped when I was in the private sector by a very beautiful policewoman. She went through my car, she looked at it, and I was just quiet. And because of my complexion, they can never imagine that I used to be in the military. They call me Indian. So I kept quiet. Then she told me, "Can't you give me money? I go and buy tea." I told her, "You are so beautiful. I can't buy you tea. I can't give you money to buy tea along the road. Give me a date. We meet somewhere. I buy you tea." And she smiled. She left me. I drove. But you see, we are so used that when you are stopped with your matatu, the minibus, immediately the policeman comes, the way Dr. Rogers has said, you give him your driving license and you have put $2 inside. It's a routine, $2 inside. So one day when they don't get that money, they'll ask you, "Why is your tire?" Yeah? There's a big joke that came in Kenya. Immediately COVID started, there was a cartoon which somebody was eating, and the policeman asked him, "Why are you eating without a mask? How can you eat with a mask?" It was trying to portray the corruption within the police. so you will not get out of that problem, because the problem is not the police, the problem is the public. It's a two-way traffic. So you've asked me about the spirit of how we move on with my staff.
4 minutes.
We have time?
Yes. 3.
First of all, Commissioner, I don't get scared. When I was in the army training, there was a night I came through 2 lions. Lions, real lions. I just put my torch like this in the jungle, like that. The eyes glowed. And I crossed. So from that day I said, I will never fear a human being. I don't fear. Secondly, the spirit of maintaining the spirit with my staff, my PA can tell you, maybe I can just give him 2 minutes to talk about it. You can just talk about what we do.
Unfortunately, we don't have
just 1 minute. Just talk what we do. The hiking.
Yeah. So the Secretary has introduced hiking as one way of bringing staff together. And so far, I've done Mount Kenya twice, and I've also summited Kilimanjaro. So that's a way of bonding.
I hike with my staff. They see the CEO with his tongue out like this. He's tired, exhausted. And we go, and it's the best team building we do. And it gives them the courage of not giving up. And the best thing you can do is to do teamwork with your staff. Team building. Not these ones organized by this commercial group where you run and put up an envelope and then you come back. No. Go hiking, go swimming, go jungle training, do motorable competition within the staff, and it breaks the barrier of hierarchy. It maintains respect, but it breaks the barrier of hierarchy.
Maybe I can also help my CEO. I think, as you can notice, there is an archbishop and there is a military person. So that combination is very important. When I go slow, he says, Mzee, let's go quickly. When he goes too fast, I say, please, this is too much, slow down.
It works very well.
And,
Thank you very
that has made our commission, I think, one of the most effective commissions in the country. The coming in of Talib in 2019 has helped us to change the perception. You see, this thing you call perception is very important. I came in the commission to deal with the wrong perception that was going on. And that time, the CEO was about to leave. So I waited. I said, let me not disturb him. I used that opportunity to get a better person. And he came in. That perception has changed. We have, together with the media, as he says, we have staff that are so compliant and professional. He can tell you, before we and him came in, this staff will meet the chair or the CEO and run away. So when I was walking, they would run away. But together, they don't. We shake hands. And so I want to assure you he does very well taking care of staff. And we are there to make sure it's working. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I've never been to Nigeria before. So I wanted to use this opportunity to request for invitation from our Nigerian brothers to invite me. But because of what I'm going to say, I don't know whether they will still do it. But I've already put up my invitation request. Nigerian president, Ghanaian president visited Nigeria. And when they were in their car going on street ride, Ghana president saw somebody attending to the nature score by the roadside. And our president was very angry. He started speaking grammar, condemning that act. So Nigerian president was embarrassed. The following week, Nigerian president came to Ghana. And doing the same thing, he saw somebody doing the same thing by the roadside. So he said, Oga, Ghana, you came to Nigeria, you spoke big grammar. Now look at what somebody is also doing in your country. Then our president asked the convoy to stop, call the person, and then he asked the person, why are you doing this to disgrace us like that? Don't you know we have VVIPs in our midst today? Why do you have to do that? Where do you come from? He said, I come from Nigeria. On that note, thank you very much, and let's give them another hand.
I've really given up. My goodness. Anyway, can we give them a good applause? Because when you have an archbishop versus a police officer, a military man, what do you expect? I think we were going to go straight to the next presentation. We're going to look at very interesting presentation, which is something that I'm very much interested myself. It's called the blockchain. We're going to get Mauritius to chair that presentation. So Mauritius, if you want to step out here. And is Dr. Ralph around? Yes, please come up so that we listen to the contributions of blockchain technology for anti-corruption in Africa. It's a very exciting topic. I have delivered it in so many forums and organizations. So I'm even excited more than I think you guys to listen to whether I can pick some new things that I have not picked before. But it's quite exciting. So please come up stage and we can allow him to speak for 30 minutes and be strict on the time. and we can have some 10 minutes question and answers. Thank you. So we can come.